What's up and welcome to Versus Battle Cards. It's our season finale, and I didn't notice until now, but it's also a Disney duel, your favorite. No, seriously, I apparently wrote that they were both Disney characters in the poll, but at the same time didn't realize that they were both Disney characters. Versus is slowly melting my brain as we speak, y'all. But anyways, it's Boonchuy from Amphibia versus Noceda from the Owl House, one of the biggest versus debates going on right now. So let's settle this. According to the Discord poll, Boonchuy will be the winner of this fight. But Luz does have a pretty big support group of her own, so let's not waste any time and dive right into the season finale of Versus Battle Cards. Since showing up to Wartwood, Anne has gotten herself into tons of wacky situations, and she needed a pretty vast arsenal to get herself through them. As far as hand-to-hand goes, Anne has shown herself to be a bit proficient in Muay Thai, a fighting style that can oftentimes be pretty brutal, requiring a tanky defense and vicious offense targeting vital areas. When it comes to melee weapons, Anne likes to bash her foes over the head with a tennis racket, or a royalty-free plastic toy beam sword, which she once used to disarm a bunch of FBI agents. This is thanks to the fact that she mastered real sword fighting and got a real sword from Tritonio. She also got some nice armor that only really covers one area, but hey, it still looks cool. Then there's her ability to harness the power of the Calamity Gems. Using their energy, she can transform into a Super Saiyan pretty much. She gains enhanced speed, enhanced strength, she can fly, she can use some telekinesis, and she can create a tennis racket out of pure energy. And all of that comes from just one Calamity Gem. There are 3, and Anne can call upon all 3 to attain a new form. A new form that will completely destroy her relatively quickly, but it still looks cool, right? Yeah, these Calamity Gems are a bit of a double-edged sword. They give her a high boost in power, but wipe her out pretty quickly, to the point she collapses and passes out after almost every use. The gems themselves can run out of energy too and need to be recharged at special temples. Moving on to Luz, and she's a witch, with the iconic witch ability of flying on a magic stick. But Luz is a bit special, as her magic stick can fly on its own. This is thanks to Stringbean, her palisman, a creature that bonds with witches. As for her attacks, Luz has magic, but she's from the human world, so she can't do it like other witches. She uses glyphs, magical little symbols that she can activate with the tap of her finger. She has light magic glyphs, fire glyphs, ice glyphs, and plant glyphs. And for a while, that's all she thought she was capable of, as those were the only glyphs she could discover. But she soon found out that combining and arranging these glyphs in a bunch of different ways would unlock a lot more spells. She discovered an invisibility spell that works as long as she holds her breath, a quick stop spell that protects her from long falls, a spell that lets her create a thick mist to hide herself, and we also get a rapid fire showcase that shows she also knows wind, electricity, petrification, and abomination. And like Anne, Luz also has a transformation. If Luz were to fall in combat, aka she can come back with the combined power of a Titan. In this form, she can create barriers, reverse curses, use magic without the need of glyphs, and all of her magic in general gets an insane power buff, the only drawback to this form being a time limit. And with everything said, I'm gonna have to give this category to Luz. Anne is very skilled in martial arts and in sword fighting. And while Luz doesn't have any weapons of her own by default, she can make a sword with ice magic or make a grappling hook out of a vine with plant magic. Invisibility, petrification, and cloaking mist are also way more useful than anything else in Anne's arsenal. Plus, Luz's transformation has a lot less weaknesses than Anne's. Let's see what the YouTube predictions are thinking though. Speed-wise, Anne is pretty impressive. She's able to dodge arrows from toad soldiers, rockets and missiles from frog robots, and in her Calamity form, she's able to fly up into outer space quick enough to intercept the moon before it crashes into Amphibia. It's tricky to figure out the exact speed of their flying because the moon had already moved a considerable distance before they launched themselves into space. A safe assumption would be somewhere in the massively hypersonic range though, as they were able to escape Earth's atmosphere within 5 seconds and met the moon halfway in about 10 to 15 seconds. It doesn't really matter though, because all these speed feats get outdone by Hop Pop of all characters, who Anne can scale to, as he moves his hand in tandem with a beam of sunlight. When calced, this resulted in sub-relativistic speeds of 1.9% the speed of light. Luz is a lot easier to figure out. She uses light magic, which acts like actual light. It illuminates spaces, it can cast shadows, it sources from the stars, etc, etc. Luz has attacks with it, she's dodged attacks from it, and she's taken on foes who can do the same. It's not just her light magic though, her plant magic too, as it's moved in tandem with a laser beam from Kikimora. But I know you want an exact number too, so how about the time they reacted to the Collector's magic, which is quick enough to move the moon about 7 million meters in 0.2 seconds. This translates to about 83 million miles per hour or 12.4% the speed of light. 6.5 times faster than Hop Pop's feat. Strength-wise, for Anne's base form, she should be comparable to King Andrias, who should be superior to Newt Frobo. Yeah, lots of scaling, I know. But Newt Frobo's explosion was powerful enough to disperse a bunch of clouds even though it was all the way up in space. And this blast has been calculated to mountain levels of power at 3 gigatons. And in her Calamity form, Anne was able to push against the moon and even slow it down a bit, which is calculated to about 80 nonillion joules, enough to destroy a planet. Multiplying that by 3 when she uses all the Calamity gems and you get 240 nonillion joules. Enough to destroy a large planet. I mean, she did blow up the moon with it. In Luz's base form, she was able to use her ice glyphs to create these massive glaciers. Due to the size of these glaciers, how quickly she formed them, the density of ice, and even the change in temperature, the results to this vary greatly depending on how you calculate it, from multi-city block level to town level. But let's quickly move on to Titan Luz and scaling to the Collector. Titan Luz obviously uses the magic power of a Titan, which is so potent and powerful that it can nullify the Collector's own magic. Now this could easily be interpreted as the Titan magic being the Collector's kryptonite or specific weakness, a loophole that doesn't require scaling. However, this isn't the case. The Collector himself says in his own words that Titans are stronger than anyone. Which means that in this form, Luz should definitely scale to the Collector, and his feat where he moved the moon at the previously mentioned speeds. That results in over 50 undecillion joules, enough to destroy a large planet, and just under the requirement to destroy a dwarf star. Over 625,000 times stronger than Anne. Let's see where the Discord predictions are at though. Anne definitely takes this bonus category. She's the only one of the two that's properly trained in how to fight, through Muay Thai and sword fighting. Luz just kinda has to wing it whenever she gets into a scrap, and only makes it through thanks to her strategy and intelligence. Anne also has a lot more practice and experience with her transformation, while Luz has only done hers one time. And Anne has faced a wider variety of opponents and foes, while Luz mainly sticks to fighting other witches. But despite this last-minute attempt to catch up, I'm sorry Anne, but the winner is Luz Noceda. And I'm honestly surprised. Leading up to when I started working on this matchup, I was so sure Anne was going to win, just based off everything I've heard. But once you actually dive in and look closely, Luz not only wins, but does so very easily. Luz has a much wider arsenal full of much more useful tools, like invisibility, disguise mist, petrification, and so many ranged options to keep Anne at bay, who can only use melee attacks until she gets into her higher Calamity forms. And when it comes to their physical stats, they may both be in the same tiers for everything, but Luz is still 6.5 times faster and over 600,000 times stronger. The only thing Anne has backing her up is her skill and experience, but that's not enough to help her take down this all-new foe. Now there is the argument of restricting both to their base forms because both of their planet level transformations require outside help. And this would put Anne at mountain level, ahead of Luz who would only be at town. But Luz would still be 6 times faster, have a huge range advantage, and still have a crazy useful arsenal over Anne. It would be way tougher for Luz, but I still personally think she could take it in that state. Not to mention the very likely possibility that she could still scale to the Collector without her Titan form, considering Ida and King were fighting alongside her, who she's no doubt comparable to. Remember, the difference between the low end and high end of planet level is hundreds and thousands of times. It's entirely possible for Luz's base form to be on the Collector's planet level tier, while still remaining hundreds and thousands of times weaker than him as the series portrays. But let me know what you guys think, and thank you for predicting in this episode. As you know, it's the season finale, so no predicting the next matchup. Instead, leave a bunch of questions for me to answer in a Q&A, or go back to previous episodes that you disagree with and leave your arguments for me to debate. It'll be a while before we get around to Season 4, but I hope you're excited anyways, because I've had 19 episodes of my first Versus show, Fictional Fights, 50 episodes of my second one, Universes, and now we just completed episode 30 of Versus Battle Cards. That's 99 Versus debates, meaning the Season 4 premiere will be my 100th one. And I think for the big 100, we'll go back to where it all started.
The journey has just begun.
With a twist, of course.